All right, more on all of this. News Nation's Joe Khalil is live on Capitol Hill right now. Speaking of the Capitol, but he's covering the impeachment inquiry hearing that we talked about. Have we heard any new evidence? That was the thing that Democrats were saying. Is there any evidence that's new that's been presented by Republicans at these hearings today? What have we seen, Joe?
Yeah, so, Connell, nothing per se new from Republicans, and that's not to knock them, but they sort of previewed that this was just going to be a sort of review of what they've already presented, which is a really detailed analysis of Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings over the last couple of years, how he made money from certain entities in places like Ukraine, places like Romania, and others, and how that money, to the tune of $15 million plus, ended up in bank accounts of Biden family members, and more money even in Biden associate bank accounts as well. They did talk about some communication between Hunter Biden and others where he referenced President Biden, then Vice President Biden, being present or hopping on a phone call with some of Hunter's business associates. What they don't have, however, is any sort of direct link, any smoking gun evidence that ties Joe Biden or a policy decision he made, anything that shows that there was influence on things that he did in office as a direct result of money that came in from overseas. And that's not just us saying that. Even Republicans' star witness here, Jonathan Turley, legal scholar, also made that point. He believes there's not enough evidence yet that would likely warrant Republicans moving forward with an actual impeachment. Here's what Turley said.
I want to emphasize what it is that we're here today for. This is a question of an impeachment inquiry. It is not a vote on articles of impeachment. In fact, I do not believe that the current evidence would support articles of impeachment. That is something that an inquiry has to establish.
So that was a bit of a blow to Republicans today, and Democrats have maintained that this investigation has gone on in some form or another for years now, and there is yet to be anybody providing actual evidence that Joe Biden engaged in wrongdoing, that you can actually, again, tie money to influence in any of his decisions that he made. They also point out that we are facing a shutdown in just a number of days. There was even a clock with a running countdown to shutdown time that Democrats use as sort of a visceral reminder of what Congress is not doing as these hearings continue. Connell.
All right, so it sounds like, Joe, the Republicans just objectively have some work to do in terms of you're going to present actual evidence, to your point. The other thing that seemed to have come up somewhere today were these calls from some Democrats that they wanted Rudy Giuliani to come in and testify. What's that all about?
Yeah, we heard that quite a lot, actually. So Rudy Giuliani, Democrats point out, had for years gone to Ukraine and had tried to build the case about Joe Biden that Republicans are talking about right now. And actually, just recently, one of Giuliani's associates, Lev Parnas from Ukraine, wrote a letter to the committee saying that there's nothing to these allegations, that Joe Biden is innocent and that this is essentially just a non-starter. So Democrats said, hey, bring Giuliani in. They actually twice tried to force a vote for a subpoena for Giuliani. Republicans shut that down right away. They've got the numbers on the committee. But that was an interesting point that maybe we didn't expect twice. Democrats trying to bring Giuliani in to testify. I don't think that's going to happen, Connell.
That is a little bit of a strange twist. Whether it happens or not, to your point, remains to be seen. Thank you, Joe. So, Joe's on top of these impeachment inquiries.